All right, let's jump right in. Trying to understand human communication without some sort of guide, it's like being dropped into the middle of a massive, sprawling city with no map. It's chaotic, it's complex, and everywhere you turn, something new is happening. To really navigate it, we need maps, frameworks that help us see the structure in all that chaos. And today, we're going to explore three of the most important maps ever drawn for human connection.
So, here's our travel guide for this journey. First, we'll get into why we even need these maps. Then, we're going to trace how our understanding has evolved, starting with a simple message in a bottle, leveling up to a game of catch, and finally joining a full-on improvisational dance. First up, why bother with these maps at all? So really, why do we need these models? Well, it's because communication, as vital as it is an unbelievably messy process. These maps, or models, are basically simplified frameworks. Now, they don't capture every single tiny detail, of course not. But what they do is give us the essential structure to analyze how we connect, what goes right, and, just as importantly, what goes wrong. And these maps matter for a few huge reasons. They give us a solid framework to dissect pretty much any conversation. They act like a multi-dimensional lens, letting us see all the hidden forces at play. And in our world, with AI and smart devices everywhere, they give us crucial insight into how we interact with machines. But maybe most importantly, they tell a story, an evolution of thought, showing how we got smarter about understanding ourselves. Our journey starts with the first and, let's be honest, the most basic map. I want you to picture a lonely castaway on a deserted island. All they can do is scribble a note, stuff it into a bottle, and toss it into the vast ocean, just hoping it reaches someone somewhere. This powerful image, that's the heart of our first model, the transmission model. And this really captures the whole idea. If you look at the stormy sea of the transmission model here, you can see our analogy in action. It's a straight one-way line. You have a sender, our castaway, who sends a message through a channel, the ocean, to a receiver who is really just a passive endpoint on this whole journey. Let's break that down. First, the process is totally linear. That bottle just moves forward. Second, it's completely sender-focused. The whole story is about the castaway and their need to get the message out. But here is the model's biggest flaw. And trust me, it's a huge one. There is absolutely no feedback. Our castaway is left wondering forever. Think about a radio broadcast or an emergency alert. They are classic examples of this one-way street. Of course, that journey is almost never smooth sailing, right? So what happens when things get in the way? Well, the model has a name for this interference: noise. And understanding noise is absolutely critical. Now let's slow down here because this is super important. There are two very different types of noise. First, you have environmental noise. This is the obvious one. It's physical interference. In our analogy, it's the storm that literally smashes the bottle against the rocks. The message is physically destroyed. It's like static on a phone line or a loud siren drowning out a conversation. But then you've got something much more subtle: semantic noise. This is where the bottle arrives perfectly. The recipient finds it, opens it, and they can't read the language. The words are there, but the meaning is completely lost. And this is a perfect example of semantic noise in action. The patient can physically hear the doctor's voice. There's no environmental noise getting in the way. But because the doctor is using all this highly technical medical jargon, the patient has no idea what they're actually saying. That gap in understanding, that is semantic noise. It's a failure of meaning, not a failure of delivery. Okay, so the message in a bottle model was a good start, but that total lack of feedback, it was a deal breaker for explaining real conversation. So scholars developed a better map, one that moves us from a lonely ocean to a friendly park. Welcome to the interaction model, which you can think of as a responsive game of catch. The biggest leap forward here is that we are no longer on a one-way street. Communication is now a two-way process. In our game of catch, one person throws the ball, and the other one, well, they catch it and throw it back. It's a turn-based exchange. Simple as that. So this model builds on the last one in a few key ways. First, the process is two-way. The ball goes back and forth. Second, the roles alternate. You're not just a sender or a receiver anymore. You're both. And most importantly, it incorporates feedback. That return throw is the confirmation. It says, yep, got your message loud and clear. This is the model that perfectly explains something like an email chain or a text message conversation. This model also introduces a vital new idea: context. You can think of it as the playing field itself. First, there's the physical context. I mean, playing catch in a quiet, sunny park is very different from playing on a crowded, windy street, right? The environment matters. And then there's this psychological context, the internal state of the players. If one player is super stressed out or distracted, they're probably going to drop the ball. Our moods, our emotions, they fundamentally shape the game. But, even a game of catch feels a little too neat, a bit too turn-based. Real human conversation is messier. It's more fluid, more simultaneous than that. And that brings us to our final and most sophisticated map, the one that really captures the magic of connection. It's time to move from the park to the ballroom for an improvisational dance.
And here it is. This is the big aha moment. Forget taking turns. Forget it. On the dance floor, both partners are moving at the same time, constantly sending and receiving signals through a touch, a glance, a shift in posture. Communication isn't an exchange of pre-made messages anymore. It's the simultaneous, collaborative creation of something brand new. This model just redefines the whole thing. Here, communication is simultaneous. While you're speaking, I'm sending you all sorts of nonverbal signals by nodding or raising my eyebrows. Meaning isn't sent from me to you, it's co-created, just like two musicians improvising a new piece of music right there on the spot. And crucially, the goal isn't just to swap data. The goal is building a relationship. The purpose of the dance is the connection itself. And look how the context gets so much richer here. Notice how the ballroom floor in our dance analogy expands. We still have the physical and psychological context from before, but now we're adding more layers. There's social context, the unstated rules of the dance, relational context, the history between the two partners, and cultural context, the different dance styles they each bring to the floor. All of these layers are shaping that dance in real time. So we've journeyed from a lonely castaway to a collaborative dance. We've watched our understanding of communication evolve from a simple one-way act to this complex, simultaneous creation of a shared reality. Let's put all three of our maps side by side just to see how far we've come. Looking at them all together, you can really see the whole story. The transmission model, our bottle, is a one-way street with zero feedback, focused only on getting the message out. The interaction model, our game of catch, introduces a two-way, turn-based process with clear feedback focused on exchange. But the transaction model, the dance, it reveals the true nature of communication. A simultaneous process with constant flowing feedback where the whole point is the co-creation of meaning within this rich, multi-layered context. So what's the big takeaway from this whole journey? It's this. We've moved from thinking of communication as a simple logistics problem, how to get info from point A to point B, to understanding it as the fundamental process we use to build our relationships, our communities, and our entire shared social world. It's not just about sending a message, it's about making meaning together. We've gone from a simple bottle to a complex dance. And these aren't just academic theories, right? They are tools for understanding ourselves and each other better. They are maps for navigating the beautiful, messy, incredible city of human connection. So the only question left is, now that you have the maps, how will you choose to connect today?